What's going on, everybody? This is going to be an interesting roundtable discussion where technically this was one of our guests' ideas, but he put all the weight on me. So hopefully I do good. So everybody just applaud for me. Yay! Okay, now that we got the applause out of the way, and thank you, just calm down, go sit down. Anyway, I am Paul Dolsky. I'm here with my fiance, who is actually in the kitchen, but she'll state her name in a minute. But anyway, anyway, yeah. Hopefully the microphone picked that up. I mean, I told her to not do what she's doing right now, which is trying to get me coffee, but she doesn't seem to listen and stuff. And later, no, bad. Anyway, we got some really cool guests. We got the returning. Well, actually, they're both returning. One is actually here for their third time, but this is a little bit differently. And then we got one that's actually come all the way back. Anyway, for the return of the second time, who actually suggested this idea is none other than Patrick Boyer Jr. Hi, Patrick. Welcome back.
Hey, Paul. Hi, Tessa. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Wouldn't be any other way. Wait. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, and then all the way from the other side of the world, we got Alex Merkin.
Or country. Maybe just the country.
Okay,
yeah,
different
hi.
country.
Good to be back. Thank you guys for having me on as well. It's nice to speak with everybody.
Oh yeah, likewise.
Hi, Alex.
Hello.
Yes. So let's start this bad boy up, and I will do my best with this, with the way of my knowledge with practical effects, even though Patrick was trying to help me as well. So the first topic of discussion with practical effects, trying to start people young. And we got some different opinions. That's why Alex is here to shine in on some interesting ways of directing with practical effects and other type of stories he may have. And Patrick, well, we know that Patrick likes to create monsters. As of the interview that we had with him back in January, he liked to create 8-foot tall Krampuses with not one tail but two tails, and ridiculously amount of expensive material, but it's all worth it in the end. And you can all go back to hear that. And then Alex, you may know him from the two interviews we've done with him, with being the director of House of the Witch and director of the No Escape Room, which is not any type of familiarity to the Escape Room movie that came out last year, I believe, or this year, whatever the hell it was. Anyway,
one of those years. Yeah,
one of those years. Ooh, okay. So for the first topic of the practical effects, start them young, we got the how-to videos. Apparently, the first thing. So bear with us because this is I guess the way out that we had. So, Patrick, we'll start with you here with the whole how-to video, which was trying to find a way to create and grow. So, you were also mentioning the learning different techniques, which is like also learning your own techniques, and as you were saying, practice on your family, I guess. So, yeah. So, let's start with you of explaining what this first topic means.
Yeah, so how-to videos. We have this wonderful resource available to us today called YouTube. And when I started, we didn't have that. It was, trial and error. But you can basically research anything you want to do and find a tutorial on how to sculpt or apply a prosthetic or color a prosthetic or airbrush, which makes it a lot easier for folks to level up nowadays than it did, 20 years ago. So, no, there's always YouTube. Great place to start.
Oh, yeah. I mean, YouTube just pretty much has everything. And Alex, do you know what we can maybe even shine in on the practical effect of what maybe you have dealt with since you have directed with practical effects?
Yeah, absolutely. I will say that my effects tend not to come as much from the I mean, things like YouTube and which are great resources for do-it-yourself kind of world, and where the practical effects I've dealt with often come from you either have like a creature effects or a visual effects team on set that handles the practical effects, and that can be anything from creature effects to what kind of things happen with like say squibs and blood shooting out or cuts and different prosthetics and things like that. So yeah, I mean it's always the thing I guess my experience has always been mainly about how to schedule those things and how to handle that in the schedule, which is, there's different stages and different levels of the effects and different, and that always affects the schedule, how long it takes to apply the prosthetics or to change something or to alter it or what's planned and what's not planned, like if you need to take a left turn here and shoot something that wasn't necessarily scheduled for this time or this moment, and where to go from there. So yeah, I mean, it's always, I mean, for me, I've had quite a bit of experience doing that kind of stuff, but of course, it all varies, with the need of the project. So, yeah, I don't know how much I could weigh in on so much on the YouTube, do-it-yourself stuff, because I've definitely come from a different space in those kind of practical effects. It's always been a team or a company that's involved with the film that's handling those things, and I haven't had to actually figure out how to make something happen, how to make a head pop off or or blood shred off or thank you or something like that. So yeah, but I don't know if that's helpful at all in that space.
No, I mean, I think what you're saying is accurate. I mean, I'm somebody who doesn't know how to do that thing either, and it's one of those things like Patrick here might actually know, because I mean, I haven't seen all the work that he's done, but he had to have had a project where he's, I don't know, blown a head off or something to relate to what you were saying. If Patrick would like to shine in at any point in time too, to maybe talk about some of the things he has learned and possibly had created himself.
I made a head once. Simple way. Life cast the actor's face and then glued it over, styrofoam head and put some fake eyes in it. But it's trial and error in a lot of cases for me. I just get some supplies, what I think will accommodate the end goal, and go for it. A little bit of research.
I mean, to that point, though, I think it is a cool day and age that we live in, where there is so much. There's so the gap has definitely been bridged between. I think in the independent world of filmmaking, there's a lot more opportunity to do things yourself, and a lot more opportunity to learn and figure out this stuff. Where I'd say maybe 15, 20 years ago, before all this stuff was really on the internet, and before there was really a YouTube, you'd really have to, you'd have to be taking quite a bit of courses and go to, effect shops or creature shops and learn the basics in that way. So it is interesting. There's so much more that can be done, and I think from both sides, both practical effects and from digital effects, I think there's a lot more homegrown opportunity for cooler things that can be done, and so it is exciting for, I think, younger filmmakers who don't necessarily have the budget or the experience to go and hire one of those spaces, those places to come on and do their effects. It's like you really can, and I think probably Patrick, you probably talk more to this, but just the ability to to learn and figure this stuff out, and I guess adapt to what the needs of the project are, and come up with it. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what your process is. If you kind of start from, you know, having an interest in a certain kind of creature or effect and start to approach it that way, or you go into it by, you know, getting attached to a project and just figuring out how to make it work.
Both. But typically I have an affinity for a certain creature, and then I'll just build it, and then the projects come to the creature, believe it or not.
Cool. Yeah, that's very cool. So that you've got this thing that you've been passionate about and excited about, and been able to, you know, like it's come from that place of excitement and love and inspiration, and you know, you can pour that interest into it. Where it's not like, oh, I got to create this thing that I don't really want to do right now, or this weird goblin that makes no sense to me. It's like you're creating these things that you really are interested in, and then people who have a need for that for their projects, or maybe get inspired by seeing the creature or the thing that you're doing, might get excited and even create a project around it. Is that typically how some of that stuff can happen?
Yes, sir. That's
cool.
correct. I was building for instance, I was building a Krampus suit, and a friend of mine was considering a werewolf film, and the realistic fur on the Krampus suit is perfect for a werewolf. So we collaborated on a werewolf head that he funded a little bit, and I funded, and then we filmed. You know,
is that endangered?
Yeah, we filmed a sequence of an anthology with the creature, but you know, to be honest, I had cut my teeth and got my practice presenting creatures and costumes and monsters at various conventions. And at some point, you know, it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, I said to myself, I said, why am I spending all this money, $200 or $300? And you know, it's great. You know, I learned my craft. But why am I spending all this money to go up on a stage for 15 minutes? And it's cool and everybody's having fun and it's a party. But I decided to switch it to the investment on independent films, 48-hour festivals, and then getting onto TV and larger independent projects. Now I'm even pushing even harder. But yeah, you know, it's conventions is a great place. Cosplay, I'm not a huge fan of the term cosplay. I've been doing it longer than the term has been around, but conventions is a great place to meet people, network, and practice what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a nice little segue to Alex when it comes to the funds for directing your film. Now, when you guys are directing a film, like perfect example, I guess, would be the No Escape Room, because we kind of talked about it with the gears in the water, which was all practical.
Yep.
So, would you mind explaining how you guys, I guess, balance the funding for the practical and what you had to maybe do or take away to make it happen?
Yeah, totally. I think a lot of actually where, you know, when that film, when we were getting ready to do that movie, a lot of the decision making about where to film it and which, like, you know, we actually ended up going to Canada to film that movie specifically with a company and producer who was very experienced in actually building, you know, real escape rooms. And, you know, the producer was also a production designer on the film, because he had that experience and was so experienced in, like, creating all these sort of practically working things for whatever those specific spaces needed. So we definitely want to do as much as we could practically, and we went into it knowing there were going to be some really interesting, things that we'd hope to, like, kind of have the house itself have this sort of inner clockwork working, gears and things, and that, or doors that open in ways that seem odd, or picture frames and bookshelf doors and that kind of stuff, secret passageways, but all that kind of stuff where, and in between the walls having this sort of gear like clockwork that was sort of constantly shifting the physical space of the house around in interesting ways. So So, when we went into that, that again, it's like we looked at different production companies and places where we could film it, and specifically chose this company in Canada where the producer slash production designer had all this experience, previously building real rooms, and so that led into, I think, that decision to kind of take the film there and make it with these guys and put the budget into that. And yeah, there was definitely a lot of times where we look at like, is this something better to do in VFX later, or is this something we can really pull off and practically and make it really go a lot further than maybe what we'd be able to do later down the line with VFX. So yeah, there was a lot of like, we found a really cool old house, Victorian style house that we started with, and we built sets within that space. So we built like shifting bookshelves and things like that. But then we had this one sequence that takes place in a little stream, and actually was not in the script when we first went down there. I walked around the location. I really liked this specific spot. We had wanted a scene in the vein of this, but we just hadn't, figured out what it was going to be yet. When I saw this little stream that was right outside of the house itself, I just started thinking about how cool it would be to really see like that the clockwork and gears that are sort of shifting and affecting this house were really like their roots, spread much further than just the physical house itself. Like it goes further out. You can see, almost like you can see this, like these gears that would crest the water like a sea serpent or something, like the back of a sea creature. And so I wanted to do something like that, and I started talking to the producer slash production designer, and he just dove into the concept of it and figured out how to get it done. And then like a week later, I started getting these really cool tests that they were doing on it, after we had kind of gone back and forth on some of the design elements of it, and I was just blown away by what he was able to do. These guys had so much experience actually, like just going out and problem solving and creating things that for those rooms in the first place, that it was amazing to actually like dream something up, write it in a script, and then see it a week later, like being tested in an actual like water with these hydraulics, and it was amazing. And I'll send you actually the video of the tests that were sent to me, and you can take a look at that, or some of the videos from set when we were using some of those practical effects. So if you want to post that, I'd be happy to let you take a look at that. But it was really cool just to be able to do that. I mean, it was one of the cooler, I think, practical effects experiences I had. In the previous year, I with House of the Witch, I got to work with Robert Kurtzman, who's a legend in the field of creature effects, so that was a really awesome experience as well. But this particular like thing with the gear and the hydraulics, and it was like something you might see on a ride in like Disney World or something. It was just really a cool effect where they had the gear that just it spins and it comes up out of the water, and it's like you just see it and feel that these like bigger clockwork is like underneath the water and underneath the ground in there. So anyway, I'll send you those videos. I think that's pretty cool to see how it kind of came along, the process.
Oh yeah. Now, I think you might have already mentioned it, Alex, but forgive me if you did already mention it. But how you said it took them a week to build this, the gears and stuff for the water?
Yeah, this particular one, I think we spent a couple of days like back and forth on some of the design elements of it. And that weekend, I think it was, so that was like on a Monday or Tuesday, and then that like Saturday, he sent me video of them testing it, and it happened very quickly. He had a really tight team of his art team, his production design team was extremely tight, and he works with them on other projects similar to this kind of, like I said, similar to like creating escape rooms and things like that all over like Canada. So it was, they just have the resources. I mean, they had several 3D printers. They had, the shop guys that can go in there and create the physical designs of the gears and the things that we wanted. And I mean, yeah, I think they're probably they probably held on to that one piece and maybe integrating it into an escape room that they created afterwards, just specifically around some of the design stuff that we did for the movie. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, that one took a week.
Wow, that's impressive. Tetsa, you actually did something similar to, I think, a cosplay, at least with makeup, because that's one thing maybe Patrick was kind of talking about too, with the whole cosplay, with the makeup and stuff. And everybody knows when it comes to Halloween, that means great big sales at the end of the month, especially at November 1st, as Patrick put in a big note here with us. It says November 1st is to be at Spirits Halloween. So what kind of makeup stuff did you do with cosplaying? Because you did some stuff for a haunted house, right?
Yeah, I was an asylum nurse. Yeah, I was like a twisted version of an asylum nurse. I had whiteout contacts in, and I did stitching on my face, and
You had some like a syringe type of thing.
I had syringes. I bloodied up my uniform. I had handprints and dragging handprints all over my nurse's outfit, and
Describe your room.
My shoes were all bloodied up. Describe my what?
Your room.
I was actually on the staircase. I actually greeted the guests in the haunted house. That I was the first thing that the guests saw when they came into the house. I was kind of like the
No wonder why they ran for the hills.
I was like the tour guide, I guess you could say.
Oh boy.
And actually, to be honest, people didn't not a lot of people ran from me. Some people actually really liked Nurse. My nurse's character's name was Nurse Ebola. Nurse Ebola.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah. So yeah, so she was my character for my cousin's haunted house one year, and he was he's like, I'm going to give you complete control over this character. You do whatever you want with her. You bring her to life. Go nuts. And I was like, okay, you got it. So I was bloodied up from head to toe. I even had the surgical mask on my face, and that was all bloodied up and everything. And they put me in the staircase, and they put black lights on me and stuff. So when I raised my eye level up and I looked at people, my eyes really stuck out, and people were a couple of people were like, holy shit, just don't look at me, please, just divert your eyes. But it was actually a lot of fun. So that was one year, and then another year I was a dark witch, and I had a room, my own room, and I actually had the main room in the house, the biggest room, the main event of the house, because I was working alongside my niece, and she was dressed up as a succubus. She had the horns, the tail, everything. So I was kind of like the summoner for her. I had summoned her, and the room was done up really well, and it was done up like a summoning circle and everything. So that was pretty fun too.
Very cool.
Very cool indeed. Do you remember the type of makeup that you used? What brand or anything? Did you have a specific brand that you went after?
I think it was Scarecrow. I used a lot of Scarecrow stuff, and I'm trying to remember the other brand I used. It's been years. I honestly miss doing it because I have a lot of fun scaring the shit out of people.
Thank God we know somebody that wants to bring back their haunted house, so maybe we can try that. Patrick, Did you have any type of favorite makeup that you like to use, especially for
the good stuff? I like to use the good stuff. We all know it's very expensive, right?
Well,
All right.
right. When you mean good stuff, though, like what are we talking now? Like the $50-$60 bundle? Like what are we talking here?
No. It's not that much. I mean, it depends. Yes, it is that much. But you try and get sales. You know, you look for sales. You try and practice with some stuff from, because you can get some okay stuff from spirits after Halloween. Get in there quick before it gets picked over entirely. But yeah, you know, Graftobian. I'm not anybody's sponsor. No one sponsors me or anything. But Graftobian and Ben Nye, if you're going with grease paints, are a great place to start and begin to, you know, practice.
Now, is that what you're using, Patrick, for like your if I may say, your Uncle Sam that I once saw there?
Yeah, on the first iteration of the Uncle Sam, yeah, it was totally grease paints. Over a foam latex prosthetic, and successive versions, and the version for the film will be actually be airbrushed. But yes,
Nice. Alex, have you guys done anything with like the airbrushes on people, or had?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's Robert. Like I said, Robert Kurtzman, when we were doing House of the Witch, he had a whole, you know, he set up a whole effects creature shop on the set, and he set up a very cool effects and creature shop on the set, and he was, you know, it's constantly like different stages of, you know, you'd see the boils and the, you know, and or the face, like when the skin's kind of peeling off when she's screaming in Darren's face later at the end of the movie, or there's all kinds of makeup and silicone effects going on with that stuff. So yeah, I mean, that one had a ton of practical effects in that department. It's very cool to see how you could kind of whip some of that stuff up right on the spot, and make those changes and stuff. But it's definitely a very time consuming process. I mean, these are the things that like you can't exactly like shift, you know, in the middle of filming and then just go do a scene that takes place before, you know, let's say somebody's face starts to fall apart or something happens to them, you know, and some big physical alteration that's like happens, you know, that evolves over the course of the film. It's like you have to allow for the time to go from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3, and it's complicated to kind of, you know, balance all that stuff out with the schedule and not, you know, and especially we have different actors in different stages of like we had one character he had to turn into like an old woman, and that, you know, and her arm peels off, and you know, and she looked incredibly creepy. Yeah, we called her, you know, she kind of had this like ET old lady look after going through the process. But it's a very it definitely throws a lot of wrenches in the flexibility of your schedule. So I don't know, Patrick, how do you find the scheduling of your projects when you have to take on, you know, I guess the kind of practical effects that really, I mean, I would imagine you've done stuff where the person sort of, their stages to their, you know, I guess evolution of whatever they look like throughout the film. How have you found like the scheduling for some of that stuff, or the moving from one stage to another?
There's never enough time. There's never enough time. No, it's yeah. There's zombie films. You know, there's typically stages, and we've done some things of the infected moving through the various, you know, phases of the virus. It depends on how many folks you have to do. At one point, we had 100 and some folks we were moving through these various phases. It was crazy.
Yeah,
the film never got made, never got finished anyway. But we had a great time learning about zombie effects.
Patrick, I guess what has been one of the brutalest, maybe, well, all right. Yeah. So, what has been one of the hardest projects you have actually had to do in a limited amount of time frame? And is that based on the fun that you had, or what did you have to do to even complete it? I'm kind of curious, Patrick, what your hardest one was.
Man, I don't even know. They all have their difficulties and their nuances, you know. And
So,
I've moved more to fabricator and talent at this point. I haven't really the last makeup effects things I've done have just been zombies, and and I could do zombies till the day I'm dead, and they'll look fantastic every time. You know what I mean?
what's some of the type of monsters? Because I know we kind of mentioned it before, but with you. But what are some of the monsters that you would like to create versus what you have done?
Wow. Right now, I'm drawing and researching for a animatronic silicon rat in the vein of the Howling type werewolves.
Ooh,
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm. But I don't have any money for that right now. But I've got some drawings, and I've researched the Arduino and the servo controllers, motherboard, and all that cool stuff. And I need about $3,000, and I could turn out a really cool animatronic drooling were-rat type creature. That's kind of what I'm thinking about now, but I haven't really started it yet.
That's cool. Is that for a particular project, or is that just for fun?
That's one of those things where I pretty much build it first, put up the stadium, and then if you build it, they will come mentality. There's some folks that have been like, there's a friend that's got a rat short that said, "Hey, I'd like to see what you're going to do with this." And then there's some other folks that are like, "Hey, this is pretty cool," and it would be hard. I'd be hard pressed to spend $2 or $3,000 and then with no investment whatsoever. But we'll see how it goes.
if memory serves me right, Patrick, wasn't one of besides the Krampus, one of your other expensive creation was the alien from? Would that be also from Abducted?
Yeah, I didn't create the alien on Abducted. That was actually ordered from RB Effects in Hollywood. The prosthetic itself was almost $1,000.
Right.
Yeah, it was just applied to me.
Yeah, right. I'm getting it confused with you being you were acted as the alien, if I remember right.
Yes.
And then I don't. Crap. I'm trying to remember Tom thing. I don't think it was you that did the UFO, right? It was his other friend there.
It was his. It was his friend. It was actually a friend of ours' father who put that beautiful UFO together.
Yeah, that was really really well done too. Oh yeah, so Alec, that's another one that I would definitely recommend you checking out. Is the film that Patrick helped act in and create creatures.
Sounds awesome. Patrick, what got you excited and interested in practical effects in the first place? Is it something that always excited you when you?
Yes, it always excited me. Forever and ever. That is correct. I grew up. I was born in the early '70s, and I grew up in the '80s. And I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's the pinnacle of practical effects and monster movies. Were early '80s, all the way early '80s, all the way to the early '90s, and then everything started to kind of change. But I grew up with Time Bandits, and I grew up with Silver Bullet, and I grew up with Fright Night, and I grew up with 976 Evil, and I grew up with Phantasm and Beastmaster, and I could go on and on.
Great stuff.
Right? I could go on and on. Believe me. Halloween, that's the other thing. You always see Halloween parties in films. It's over the top. So I started in my early teens having house parties. My mom got us into horror way too early and was a seamstress. And Poltergeist and Exorcist.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is, man. I have turned out pretty okay in my old age, but so it was yard haunts and getting that practice there. My mom was making costumes for us, the whole family at an early age from scratch. You know, she would buy the patterns and the material and make us things that nobody else had. And then the yard haunts, and then the conventions, and I always wanted to create something that I couldn't buy off the shelf, or that I didn't want to see off the shelf. You know, that was kind of instilled. Right. Yeah, it was kind of instilled in me from my mom at a really early age to create something original. But that's basically where it came.
I think it's really cool. Yeah, that's cool. So I would imagine that you were always sort of tinkering around and creating stuff, like, you know, for as long as you had access to anything that could be crafted. You were crafting creatures and things that would be, you know, pretty cool, right? I would imagine.
Yes, it's a compulsion.
Yeah, that's awesome. Spent a lot of I mean, honestly, it's the cool thing about it is, it's like, you know, you think about the stuff that inspires you when you watch, you know, movies, and how magical they feel to you as a kid when you're watching these things, and when you get to actually be in the shop creating the magic and putting it all together and designing it, really, too, you know, the things that are going to scare people or inspire them, or, you know, I think that's just such an awesome place to be. And it's definitely, when I was younger, before I even knew that I wanted to, like, direct movies, I was drawn to anything that had to do with, like, practical effects or VFX, like any kind of, you know, creature shop stuff, anything like that, just got me so excited and inspired. If there was any place that I'd want to be, that if I wasn't making, you know, directing movies, it would be in that kind of a space. So I totally get the passion for that, and that's really cool.
Oh man, I remember the concept of chroma key green screen when I was younger. You know, I give myself away. I'm 48, right? But when I was younger, the concept of green screen, being able to film and then transfer that shot onto any background was amazing. Well, just in the past year, I've had several amazing green screen opportunities on larger projects, and it's living the dream, and you've got to chase it in order to capture it.
It's amazing to be able to do that stuff. Yeah, it's. I always like pinch. I know exactly how you feel, because I'm constantly like, man, I'm on the set doing this thing right now that that when I was younger, I just, like, this is all I ever wanted to do, all I ever wanted to spend any of my time doing, and now I'm here doing this, and it's, yeah, I mean, it's good to keep that perspective, because that's kind of where the moment you get kind of jaded in all of it, because it can get you know, difficult and trying, and like you said, every project is going to have a million obstacles in it and things to you know, overcome, and it's always an issue and always a problem to solve, and that kind of stuff can definitely, like, start to hurt it can start to kill the child in you, but it's great to keep it alive, and that's where really all this stuff, you know, I feel like that's just like the seeds for all this stuff is that inner child that, you know, that was watching those movies that you're talking about. I mean, that's for me, at least, that's where the passion for making these things comes from. So the only way to like have it not be just work, you know, but have it be like, keep it a passion and keep it something that you're inspired to do and love doing, you know, is to hold on to that.
Yes, and I'm also an IT consultant, but the goal is to move further away and further into the entertainment world. Yeah.
Cool. Definitely. Well, you're doing it, man. That's great. It's you know, it's not easy to just, it's not easy to keep pushing forward with this stuff and to keep creating these things. And yeah, you know, and that's, especially like you said, it can get pretty pricey, and it can get, you know, and especially when it's not like, you know, it's like if you're having to figure out to finance some of the stuff yourself, but you're keeping it going, and that's an awesome thing.
I'm going to watch House of the Witch tonight.
Cool. I hope you enjoy it.
I will. Yeah. I'm sure I will.
Speaking of House of the Witch, Alex, since I think I have the DVD with me, but I think you just have the case. Yeah. I'm trying to remember. Did House of the Witch have any type of practical effects in that? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, a lot of practical effects. I mean, those, like I said, those, you know, the witch herself is like I said, Robert Kurtzman was on set creating his creature effects shop, and
Right.
you know, everything you're seeing, makeup wise, these are all practical effects. He even had his son down at one point, a scene that got cut, but he was walking around in a full on like zombie suit. I can see some of that video too. Unfortunately, that particular scene didn't quite fit into the rest of the film, but I mean, everything, like I was talking about, with, you know, aging one of our characters, you know, into an old woman, and another guy's like skin being like literally screamed off, so that he's like turns into these like green flakes. Like that was all. These are all practical effects, like the boils on the guy's face and the, you know, everything. Just we had so many practical effects. That literally that Kurtzman had to, you know, he basically took over. We had this amazing estate, and he took over this whole like I guess like guest house, and turned it into his creature effects shop. And it was so cool to walk into and just see, you know, the body parts and the and the torsos and the, you know, everything. It was awesome. So, but yeah, the majority of that movie, I mean, we used digital effects to sort of enhance the practical effects, not the other way around. So, yeah.
Well, what was, I guess, throughout your career, Alex, and this is going back from the beginning, what was probably one of the hardest practical effects that you had to ever shoot to capture in the camera?
Like specific effect, or like project as a whole?
Ooh, maybe
as a whole, I would say like House of the Witch as a whole was probably just because we had so many characters that had to be affected one way or another at various stages and different times, and when you're trying to balance those schedules on a short shooting schedule, we had, I think, I don't know, 15 or 16 days to shoot that movie. I can't remember. It was a very short shoot, but trying to balance all that with you know, these people in various stages of the effects, and you know, it takes, you know, you got to get people in there hours early to get, you know, go through the works and get their makeup applied, and if anything goes wrong, or if they're off by, you know, if like it takes an hour longer and we're waiting around for this one person's, you know, skin to be applied properly and it's not done yet, you know, it's just like that can kill your schedule for the day. And when you like, so 5 or 6 characters having to go through the various stages, it's, you know, it's complicated. But so yeah, I would say that I wouldn't say there's one specific thing in that space. I did a movie called Altitude with Lionsgate that had Dolph Lundgren and Denise Richards, and we did a bunch of stuff on a plane where we didn't have a we didn't have a gimbal, which is one of those things that kind of makes the plane, it has all this like crazy plane stunt stuff happening where the plane's like, you know, it's like nose diving and all this like crazy turbulent stuff going on, and doors being ripped off, and we had to do all that without the, you know, that platform that makes the plane actually move around, and it was all built on a set. So we had, like, you know, at various stages, we had people like pulling, you know, filament lines to pull open the overhead compartments and have like luggage and stuff flying overhead. And at one point, the plane is like flying directly upward, and a character is supposed to slide all the way down the aisle, and we had to put them on, you know, like we had to have them on like on a pulley that we would pull them backwards. And so we're combining all these stunts with kind of crazy stuff happening from the turbulence and the wind and stuff happening. But we had to, you know, a lot of that was not digital. A lot of that was us sort of like shaking the camera, shaking the overhead compartments and pulling luggage out of it and doing all that kind of stuff. And it was really difficult to kind of time that properly and not hurt people, you know, and not have people seen in the frame. And so it's kind of a balancing act. It's a really crazy, you know, orchestration of stuff. So I would say that's probably the most difficult that one had some really difficult sequences in it, but as a whole, I'd probably say the House of the Witch had the most balancing of scheduling of when to apply the effects, and effects that take anywhere from 3 to 6 hours to apply. So
wow,
yeah,
that's some crazy stuff right there.
Re-elected. It's an independent feature film being shot here in Maryland, Western Maryland. It's undead presidents.
oh awesome.
Yeah, but I just left a film summit where I sat with folks from LA and New York, Samico Films, and a bunch of other folks. Man, I just learned so much over the past weekend. It's really kind of amazing. The film industry is it's really its own world once you dig in and start learning about it at a different level. Because I'm trying to transition out of the IT consultant arena and go full bore into the acting and effects type stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. I applaud you for doing it, man.
It's scary, man.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure, it can be.
Yeah.
Without doubt, it can be kind of a crazy. It's definitely like kind of stuff. You got to step out of the. You got to step away from the safety net and really kind of stand out on a ledge sometimes. But it's cool to. I think you're really gonna dive in to make stuff happen. You can't.
Yes. I've pretty much big fish in a little pond here now in this area. But hey, I'm looking at Robert Kurtzman. I've been doing a lot of research on actors and production companies and different stuff. So this is what I've been doing. But Robert Kurtzman did the Mushroom Head. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that band. It's like industrial metal. Robert Kurtzman done all the work on Mushroom Head's videos, and they are heavy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they're heavy in practical effects and makeup effects and character effects. So
yeah, his stuff is
cool stuff.
Is great, man. Yeah, he's he just did all the practical effects, on Haunting a Hill House, which he's now going into the next season of. But sometimes I remember when we were on set, I think he had just done Gerald's Game for the same director, Flanagan, and he was showing me all the life casts that he had made of the actors in the movie,
Wow.
and they're incredible. They're this full body, just identical life cast of these guys, and he did it again. I think he did it several times in Haunting a Hill House for some of those characters as well. It's really crazy and impressive stuff that he's got going on there. And it's like him and his assist. Has he moved away from the effects house that he started, and it's just him and his assistant / I don't know if it's still his girlfriend or wife, but the two of them do it together, and they handle it all. Yeah, it's great.
Patrick, you were mentioning here real quick about this could actually work both two ways, actually. It was you were mentioning creating props for haunted houses, volunteer work, and sacrificing yard haunts. Oh, wow. Anyway, that can also fall into the category of what do you do when you don't have material or the funds, and how do you keep active by it, which is somehow mentioned by drawing. So can you explain a little bit about that?
Everybody has pencil and paper, right?
Correct.
Right. So, I've been doing a lot of it lately. I do a lot of graphic design too, but lately I've started drawing my graphic design ideas on paper, or, I've start with a creature suit design on paper. If you're going to build something from scratch, some folks start with a 3D design on a computer, but we're talking, we have no funds. We're talking beginners. We're talking, what can you do? As far as creature design, another little inside hint is mashups are where everything is at. So you take two things, like for instance, you have a zombie, but what is the zombie? Is he an Indian? Is he a biker? Mash up it's all about combining things, because a zombie in and of itself is just a zombie until it becomes a character, you know. So you think of a vampire. Well, what is your vampire? He's a biker, so you start to build the biker motif around the vampire motif, and then you create if you're not ordering something offline, you're just fantasizing. You can draw whatever you want, and there are no limitations. So yeah, just paper and pen is basically freely available to everyone, where you can write down your ideas, draw your ideas, and begin.
That's awesome.
Now, Alex, you were kind of actually mentioning that too when you were mentioning the wall that you were building for No Escape Room. Did you guys actually draw that stuff out, or did you kind of just go?
Yeah, there was definitely there was a lot of design first and foremost, just to kind of see some of the not just design. We also pull from other pictures for like mood boards and ideas, things to kind of inspire like the vibe of something, and then we get into like the actual drawings of what some of the spaces are going to look like, and some of the the design for how, like, for example, we built a bookshelf into a wall into an actual door space that this house already had, and made it look like the same kind of wood paneling that they had in the house. And I remember the actual owner of the house walked in and thought that we had fucked up. We had fucked up his wall. Like, we'd actually like drilled into his wall and created this bookshelf that wasn't there. He's like, "Oh, I mean, I guess I like it better. It's nice," But he didn't realize that this was stuff that was placed in front of it, and totally came out of the wall. There's no damage done to his house whatsoever. But he thought the only way you would have been able to do this stuff would be to actually like drill and pull out certain things from what he was thinking we did. So he was totally shocked that these were like, that this was not his house being kind of, reworked entirely. But yeah, in order to fit the very specific seams and things to make it look that, that a part of the house, you have to like very specifically design it, to fit every little nook and crevice of the house itself. So it was cool, but for sure we definitely had to design it, especially because we had rooms that we would then build new walls and spaces within, so that we could use a room for 2 or 3 different spaces inside the house. Because originally we were going to build the entire thing on a set, but you just can't get the same kind of like molding and texture that you get from an old house, on a set, no matter how much money you spend building on it. So,
right.
So we took a nice old house but we had to build a set within it. So it was cool.
Very cool. Hey, and Alex, I'm a 6'7", 230-pound creature suit stunt actor. I'm seeking representation, and I'm about to.
Good size.
Yes, I fancy myself a giant Andy Serkis or Doug Jones. Cool. I'm not quite. I mean, I'm still growing, and I'm working. I'm strong and healthy, but as I'm continuing into the industry, I know I need to grow.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, well, 6'7", 230.
Awesome, yeah, that's there's not a lot of 6'7", 230 guys who are gonna do stunt and kind of creature work. So that's really cool, and that's definitely a good size. And I will definitely have you on the radar for stuff I'm doing. And that's good to know for sure.
And I do
stuff.
stuff
along, I'll be happy to.
I appreciate that, but and I do stuff. I'm not out of the blue. There's a repertoire of things.
Yeah,
but you know what they say, man. I've done a lot of research lately. It's all about who you know and targeting. And it sounds like you do a lot of horror and thriller type stuff, which
totally, yeah.
I'm not going to get cast as anybody's father figure or doctor, and there's typically not a whole lot of 6'7" gas station attendants. It's just right. So yeah, you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
no, it's good to know like the spaces you fit in and know like the strengths and the like, and that's so it sounds like you really have a good sense of that, and it's and for sure, and it is always about who you know and what they're doing and what they keeping people in mind for the right project at the right time. So.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. Same thing if it goes back to practical effects and makeup effects. I have a lot of friends too. It wasn't all YouTube. It was a lot of hands-on networking with folks, either that I met from a haunt or a convention, where we've shared information. So it kind of all wraps, no matter where you're talking about, at what level of the industry, whether you're talking about a casting or whether you're talking about word of mouth, someone sharing information as far as whatever, how to do something. It's all about networking.
Right. Oh, totally. Where are you located?
Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh, cool. Cool. All right, good. Good to know. Excellent, man.
Yes, I'm very excited. My girlfriend went to sleep, but I'm gonna watch House of the Witch here.
Well, I hope you enjoy it. Definitely let me know.
Nice.
Awesome, guys.
Yeah. I hope you do like that, Patrick. And that was actually the first movie I found at Walmart one day when Tessa, because that's like one thing Tessa and I just do randomly sometimes. We just go to Walmart. If we go, we always have to go check out the movie section because that's where I found some very interesting titles in Walmart. Like I found the French version of Martyrs, which I'm going to put on the record right now is the only good Martyrs movie. Stay away from the U.S. version because they completely destroyed that movie. Anyway.
That tends to happen.
Never heard of it.
Martyr, you never heard of the French version Martyrs? Oh, boy. That's another movie I would recommend if you don't mind foreign language. I mean, yeah, but that's where I found House of the Witch, though, Patrick. It was just right there on the shelf for like $10. I just looked at the artwork because the artwork is what caught my eye, and I'm just like,
That's what they do. That's what they do to us.
Exactly. And it can go 50-50 after that.
Yeah, right.
And like one movie, I kind of liked the artwork, and I liked the fact that it was based on a true story. It had some pretty cool practical effects in it, but did the movie really do justice? No. And I don't know if I should put the title out there like this.
Hey, you know what? Yeah, there are hit or miss films out there all the time, and I'm not proud of everything I've worked on either. There's some things I like to bury, but we do have to give kudos to the folks that are out there creating and get their distribution, have their film on a shelf somewhere. I'm proud of the fact that they've driven that hard and been able to accomplish it that far. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, I don't care. It's still an accomplishment of at some level just to be there, on the shelf.
That's true. It's a good point. I mean, these works are there's so much more that's going on than just like what the ultimately
in. Yeah.
Right. So, and I agree. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of obstacles, and nothing's ever like there's no real cookie cutter process to any of it. And I think a lot of people sometimes think that there is, that all budgets are kind of created equally, and they're certainly not. And people have all kinds of different obstacles to whatever their project is, and like you said, Patrick, it's always it's an amazing thing just to get through it and get it out there and
Totally.
not give up. So I agree.
Totally.
But yes, networking is definitely the key to getting to know better techniques. Like I think Patrick and I were kind of mentioning earlier with the YouTube, especially trying to create like our own, well, I can't really say it because I don't do it, but in this case, Patrick can learn new technique to which create his own techniques and maybe even learn other things that he maybe never even thought of before.
Totally. I just subscribed to Robert Kurtzman's YouTube channel. So
awesome.
We're talking about these things, and he's got an amazing YouTube channel from what I'm looking at.
Yeah,
they've already done these things. So if like animatronics, working with Arduinos and servos or muscle wire, Flexinol or silicone, somebody's already done it. And rather than recreate the wheel, research a little and find what you need, and then go from there.
Totally.
I'll have to check out his channel now too. So.
Oh, dude, it's sick. It's sick. He's done everything. He's originally from K&B, so you can.
Well, yeah, he's the K in it. He's Kurtzman is the K.
Wow. So he's the freaking man. I never knew that. You only ever hear of what's his other name. I can't even remember what the other guy's name is. But you only ever hear the other guy. You don't hear this guy. He's just out there doing. So you don't need to hear about him.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yep.
Totally.
Now, real quick, Patrick, because this falls into what we were talking about too, with the whole not having the funds and stuff for materials. So you're mentioning drawings because everybody has a piece of paper and pen or pencil or some type of way to draw something. Now, when it comes to
drawing, is also very therapeutic,
and coloring is too.
Yeah, it can take you out of the daily stresses of life.
Yeah, Tessa can definitely vouch on that. Coloring is definitely
It's very therapeutic for me.
Good.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot easier for me not to want to strangle people.
Do you have adult coloring books, Tessa?
I do have horror coloring books. Believe it or not, I do have horror coloring books.
I believe it.
Wow.
I will have to send you guys like pictures of them.
Nice.
I have to actually put out there real quick because I was actually surprised to even find it. But it was a Bram Stoker's Dracula coloring book that I found at Walmart for I forget, $15 or whatever. That was really cool. And I'm like, well, I know what I'm getting, Tessa, next time I get paid. So.
Yeah, and I got a Horror Man one, and then I've got Halloween horror, haunted houses.
Don't you have one called The Beauty of Horror, or is that one that's on our list for you? Must be on the list for you.
I think that's on the list for me. There's a Beauty of Horror one. There's Beauty of Horror 1, 2, and 3. Yeah,
and there's also that weird Alice in Wonderland one that I forget the name of it right now, but it's really creepy.
Twisted Nightmare of Wonderland or something.
Yes, that's very.
It's on my Amazon wish list.
Yes, but anyway, so Patrick, you were mentioning though with funds? How do we stay steady with funds for our art, for your type of art project, and maybe Alex too? After Patrick shines in, maybe you can share about maybe when you started directing, what did you have to do to save funds for while you're waiting to direct a film or something? But yeah, Patrick, what are your thoughts on the whole finding some way to keep up with funds to at least support your art project or art habit?
Me personally, I'm a IT consultant, so all my projects are self-funded. But I've recently heard of OPM. I don't know if you guys. I'm sure Alex has heard of OPM. Other people's money. I haven't really worked with that much, but having a decent job and a career, unless you're really going to go all in, it's really difficult to. You never want to discourage anyone from chasing their dreams in this industry, but I've taken the time to learn a skill, and have a first life, which is trying to get out of, but it's really what's funding and enabling second life, which is the acting and the effects and the filmmaking. And I'm pretty sure any filmmaker you talk to is going to pretty much say, yeah, we have other means of income, or have another skill set. Don't expect to go out there and be Robert Kurtzman. but also on the other hand, don't not expect to go out there and be whoever you are. But it takes lots of money, and you got to be able to pull it from somewhere. And I've always been fortunate to fund the things that I've been able to create on my own. I'm not a huge fan of those, crowdsourcing campaigns.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, it's for sure. I wholeheartedly subscribe to OPM. I'm all about it, but for sure, you can't always rely on that. And when I was getting started, I started off doing whatever I could in media. I found a position at a production company and worked there for a little bit. I ran their like the film and TV department there for a couple months, but I didn't love doing it. And I started my own company, really just trying to focus on, music video work, commercial work, anything I could do that would allow me to sort of hone my skills, but bring in some money while I was working on, the passion projects. So I would take anything I could, in the media world, making little music videos, little commercials, any kind of production needs that people needed. And I did okay in that space for a little while, and that helped me, fund the lifestyle and learn more about my techniques and things. And then while I was doing that, I worked on a script that I wanted to use as my calling card to kind of break into the industry, and had the good fortune to really, to make that short, and then it did well. It worked. I got some good attention from the studios and from managers and agents, and that really helped kind of set the career in motion from there. So it was, but it wasn't. I wasn't relying all on that. It was. I definitely had, the fallback of my own little production company that was small enough that it didn't need. It wasn't like I had a couple people that I grew. I was able to grow a little bit and have a couple people working with me, but it was a small enough operation where it didn't have a lot of overhead costs, and I could really, finance my lifestyle and learn from the work that I was doing, So, yeah.
For somebody like me, I guess, that if I were to start practical effects at a young age, which I know I'm going to be 32 this year, but for somebody that maybe high school age, maybe I know like back in when I used to go to high school, we used to have another section of the school that was called Stafford Technical Center, where we could choose this type of program where between digital art or video media, I think is their name, where we got to learn how to direct our own films and stuff like that. For somebody like practical effects, though, unfortunately, I have no idea if any type of high school would offer such a thing.
Yeah, your employment counselor in high school is not going to say, hey, you can be a film director, or you can be at least not in these parts, or you can be a makeup effects artist. That's a specialized competitive thing that you really got to be hungry for.
So Patrick, if I was a lot younger, how would somebody like me want to start start going into practical effect? If I was telling you, okay, Patrick, I'm about to practice.
Yeah, you got to practice.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the cool thing is, I mean, now the people growing up now, the one I think big advantage they have is we live in a time now where people can actually start to build little followings, from their from their basement or their bedroom,
Totally.
on social media, and they can start to show the work they're doing and learn from other people's work and network in those ways, and apply those effects and try little videos, like little short, tiny videos that they can start to work on that stuff, and people can start to see that stuff, and little communities form that way. That stuff,
Totally.
I don't think we didn't necessarily have access to that kind of stuff when we were growing up, but it's cool that those guys can do that now, and that's a great way to apply the practice that you're talking about, where they can really create little 1 minute videos or little short things that are cool, and people have amassed huge followings and who are super young. Like, you have these kids who just figure out their place in the world and their specialty and show people, and people watch it and people love it, and you can there are lots of opportunities to be seen and to be homegrown, so that's great.
Patrick, now, just out of curiosity, when you first started doing the practical effects, what did you first kind of start learning? Like, what would you suggest? Like, if somebody who's never done
zombies, everybody loves zombies. They're easy. You can do it with simple household things, tissue papers, and your mom's leftover makeups, and some cheap latex. Zombies are the way to go. And then you can get more elaborate, and you can get some over-the-counter prosthetics. You can get some silicone. You can get latex. Then you get into blending the seams, and then you get into sculpting your own prosthetics, but that gets even more complicated. So it all depends on the level. But zombies really are where I started. I've had a love of zombies forever. Everybody loves zombies, and it's great. Grab a friend and make them into a zombie, and shoot a zombie short. I know it gets a little cliche, and people are a little tired of hearing zombie, but it's really the best place to kind of practice, if that makes sense.
I think you're right.
No, I can definitely vouch that it seems like zombies are the easiest thing to really start on.
Totally.
Sure. And I mean, it may not be the airbrushes, but it would be a nice way to start, I guess, with the
Well, I've totally done some killer zombies with zero airbrush.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking of the fine point brushes, I should say, where you actually got to maybe use that or something, or I know with some people, I don't know if you ever did this, Patrick, but when creating your zombie, did you ever have to create your whole, like, I'm gonna call it homemade stencils, and then apply makeup that way?
No.
Without an airbrush? No.
No, that's not how. I know what you're talking about, but that's a different thing. No, we don't do that.
I was gonna say, would you recommend it though? Like, is that like another best way to maybe learn, or would you say just do it?
Everybody has different. Everybody learns different, and everybody has different techniques. I've never been a big stencil guy because it's a little too restrictive, and I like a little more free flow of just a grease paint on a sponge or an airbrush or flicking paint off a brush versus restriction of a stencil. But they're great if you're doing certain things, like body paints and things like that. I know that's where they're heavily used, but I don't do much of that.
Okay. Another thing that I'll bring up real quick is that I know we talked about it too, is classes a little bit. I know, of course, if you have enough to be able to take the classes, but is there any type of classes that you have taken, Patrick, that you would definitely highly recommend that somebody who is starting out to save up money for to learn?
Well, initially, I would. This is something I haven't done yet, but Stan Winston has some amazing online stuff, opportunities for videos and participating in group classes and stuff. And you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to pay hotel fees. You don't have to do any traveling. It's all online, and then you can invest your money in buying a bust or buying some clay or buying some prosthetics over the counter that you can apply to someone, or buying a nice quality latex and not something cheap, But online, Stan Winston. I mean, I went to FX University with a bunch of the folks from Face Off. There's school in PA. Geez, I can't think of it. But yeah, they're around. I mean, I'm here in Baltimore. You're up there in Vermont, and Alex is bi-coastal. But there's definitely schools for the beginner, though. For a birthday, ask for a DVD. There's an animatronic DVD on Stan Winston that I want. That's $59. That's a great birthday present. My birthday is coming up in 7 months, guys. 7 months and 3 days. So yeah, ask your parents for a birthday gift of a DVD, instructional DVD. I'm going to drop some names, but Scream Team, they have great prosthetics. And when you buy their prosthetics, they give you the option of adding on another $20 and you get the DVD of how to do it. That's a great learning experience if you can't figure it out on your own. So you don't have to go to a school. You don't have to do all that traveling. There's opportunities online. So my birthday is in November, and Stan Winston's DVD on animatronics is $59. So there you go.
You hear that? You hear that, Paul?
Pick that up, Paul.
I hear that. I hear that.
Don't forget.
I know. I won't forget. Because what's funny is my birthday, Patrick, is exactly 6 months away. And what's even more funny is, when's your birthday, babe?
June 13th.
2 months exactly today as well. So
nice.
Don't forget.
So let's everybody know what everybody wants for their birthdays, please, and then and what the dates are, and then we'll get it all worked out.
We'll sort it out.
We will provide our P.O. box in the description for our birthday present. No.
No, but to keep it real, do some research. Take a look at what you want to learn, because there are so many different things that you could do in the film industry. It's not just limited to practical effects. You could be the actor. You could be the beauty makeup artist. You could be a PA. There's all kinds of opportunities. But yeah, online is the best way to learn about all of it and any of it.
It's true, and there's so many classes now that are online, and there's so much there's so many tutorials and things that you can do, and a lot of it's free, but a lot of it's not. But it doesn't matter. I mean, it's all there. You can learn. You can get it so quickly. It's like right at your fingertips, and there's so much knowledge, and you can already see what works for people and what doesn't right before you even something you have to pay for. You can learn whether or not it's worth the price right there. It's like there's really no excuse not to invest in yourself and your skill set.
Bam.
Bam. And
you just said it right there. It was very important, Alex. It was about investing in yourself.
Exactly. It's always good to invest in yourself. Patrick, just out of curiosity, have you heard of a company based in the U.S. called Mostly Dead?
Yes. Yeah, they got cool stuff. I haven't ordered anything recently, and I really would love to do a prosthetic. 'Cause I got kind of known for turning myself into crazy demons, applying my own makeup. And they have some really cool stuff that I'd love to try, but I just been investing in other
projects, right?
Fabricating that werewolf and that Krampus, and taking classes. I've actually taken some classes and invested in learning more about the industry. As I'm trying to, there's multiple levels. There's multiple levels, and just pushing harder and harder and harder, and the hunger to get to the next level, investing in yourself, and the time is even if you don't have money, there's a lot of, you can just take the time to invest in yourself to do the legwork online. Everybody has a cell phone. Everybody has the internet. There's no excuse you can't learn about whatever aspect of the industry you want.
What brings up a really nice way to end this discussion, which is the final thing, which is you were mentioning with like your werewolf and maybe your Uncle Sam and your Krampus, where you need the right material and for knowing the design, and it's another interesting way of keeping your chin up, even though you may have a few rejections, or like you were stating with Alex earlier, which I don't know if it's on the record or of recording, but you were mentioning like you create the stuff first before usually somebody comes along and uses it, and that would make it score big. So you continue to work. Now,
Pretty much.
yeah,
I have a reputation now because of I've volunteered and sacrificed for years. That's another whole huge right, Alex.
Yeah, no, it's true. You have to. Like, I can't tell you how many times again, like the work that I would do. I started off when I wanted to get better projects and things. It's like you take work where you're not going to make a dime. All the money goes into the project itself, or you're not getting paid for the time. You're getting
totally.
If there's any money at all to it, it goes right into what the project is, and that's how you start to develop your reputation and start to other people see what you can do, and that's the only way to do it. Because if you just think you're gonna jump on the scene, making the kind of money that that people have been doing it for years are going to do, then you have to start somewhere, and you have to start building a reel and a resume somehow, and again, it goes back to not only just honing your skills, but having something to show for it afterwards. And so yeah, I totally agree with you. It's just like you're not gonna make lots of money up front, but that's how you're going to get the networks. That's how you're going to network with people, and how people are going to see your talent, your skill, your abilities, and start to get the recommendations, or one guy who worked on the project recommends you for something else. Your network grows from there. So yeah, it's totally, you never know. It's like I my very first feature film, I had there's a PA that was working for me who ended up being, he's a huge assistant director right now, and he ended up ADing one of my latest movies. But like, I was shocked to hear he was a PA. I didn't even remember that he was a PA on my first movie, but it was amazing. He worked on Dark Knight. He worked on all these other huge projects, and like started out, and he's doing amazing right now. But it's like you just never know the guy who's there, who's working with you in one capacity, who can open a door somewhere else or do something. It's just awesome. So the industry is I think that's one of the ways the networks work. It's like take everything that like fills you up, as an artist, and in the capacity of the work that you want to do. Anything that you can afford to do, even if you have to cringe a little bit to make it work, like if it's something that can open a door somewhere, like do it. Because not everything's about especially not early on, not everything's about putting money in your pocket. As you start to get further into the industry, and you start to pay your dues in I hear it's like that's then you need to start getting a little money for what you're doing, for sure. But you can't expect it early on, and you shouldn't turn your nose up to anything. Nothing's beneath you. Like, people sometimes act like work is not good enough for them, and I never understand that. Like, if you can be working and doing this stuff, and it's so much better than sitting around and doing nothing. Like, honing your skills, networking with people, building your resume, getting more work under your belt. It's so important. So that's where I come from on it.
All right, everybody. So everybody that's listening, this is it. Time for your quiz. Did you learn everything? I hope you did, because your pop quiz is coming next week. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm
paying attention.
Who is? I guess I am.
Awesome talking to you guys. Thank you guys so much for having me on. Thank you guys. Great to meet you, Patrick, and I'm excited to to know someone else in the industry who's doing great stuff, and definitely will keep you in mind for work that I've got in the future and stuff that can where we can have a possible collaboration. So that's great. And
hey, can I plug a few things? Are you going to plug a few things, Alex? Would you like to plug a few?
No, go for it though. Go for it.
Oh man, well, hey, the most relevant recent thing now is Western Bill Tillman and the Outlaws. It's screening in theaters all over the East Coast right now. It has Lana Wood and Robert Carradine and Johnny Alonzo and Darby Hinton, and it's a cowboy film. I played their giant with a mental. I guess he was kind of slow. Anyway, Lana Wood played my mom.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that's all over the place right now. It'll come in a VOD.
Sorry, what's that one called again?
Excuse me. Bill Tillman and the Outlaws.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's coming. It's out there all on social media, and there's
I'll find it.
the making of is currently on Amazon, I think, and it's in limited theaters. It's not like actually been, it's not in theaters, but anyway, it's out there.
Awesome.
And it's good fun. But Paul, if you'll be able, I'll send that to you at some point when I get a copy of it. It's good fun for the family. That's the one thing that I've done that it's you could take children to.
Awesome.
Well,
very cool.
I guess first we need to.
It was really an honor being there with that. Robert Carradine throws me a bag of money after they come out of a bank shooting guns.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on that, man. That's awesome.
Thanks, man. I was amazed to be there.
Nice. Well, thank you guys so much. And Patrick, Alex, if you have any plugs that you would like to throw out there for people to keep in touch with you guys, or at least Patrick, show off your pretty awesome practical effects, and definitely you, Alex, if you want to throw out a couple films.
Yeah, I got plug. Everybody should listen to Everything Horror Podcast. And
I'll second it. I'll second that one.
Yeah, you can catch me
I heard it
on.
pretty bad.
Well, only when I'm on it. Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. I'll be back on when the next movie's coming out, and I'll let you know.
Awesome,
Are you
man.
sure? I thought I told you to shut up too many times.
I know. Well, I'm used to it. Everybody tells me to shut up, so
Doesn't
affect me as negatively.
Well, that's good. That's why you just fire back in their face. But yes,
exactly.
Alex, it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you again. And
yeah, thanks, Alex. It's a pleasure talking to you. I look forward to chasing down some of your films.
You as well, man. Thank you. I can't wait to see some of your stuff. So,
hey,
if you want
to see something now, look for the Sultan and the Saint.
Sultan and the Saint. I will.
Yeah.
I'll look that up.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
All right, buddy.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you.
Take care. See you, Paul.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Tessa.
Bye.
bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye, doggy.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
And not to wrap everybody for the practical effects for starting young. Hope you enjoyed. I kind of wish a few people were able to jump on to talk with myself, Patrick, and Alex. But maybe we can always try to do a part 2. And until next time, stay scary.